Hi, everyone. Welcome to our family-focused nutrition class number 3. We're excited to share this learning with you and this recipe. We like to start our events by introducing people who are in the room. So it would be awesome if we could hear from everyone and just really quickly your name, and something about what's your favorite vegetable? There we go. What's your favorite vegetable? Which I can go first. So my name is, oh, just kidding. We need to do the language justice statement first. Okay. Dea, take it away.
All right. Bueno, primero que nada, solamente quería dar la bienvenida a todos por estar aquí en nuestra clase de nutrición enfocada en la familia. Es nuestra clase número 3 y quiero darles la bienvenida y como siempre tenemos un poco de rompehielo porque queremos poder conocer a todos. Vamos a empezar dando nuestro nombre y después cuál es su vegetal favorito, pero antes de eso vamos a dar las instrucciones sobre interpretación y sobre justicia del lenguaje. Así que, de ella, adelante. Buenas tardes. Va a haber interpretación disponible para todos porque justicia del lenguaje es muy importante para esta organización Pueblo Food Project, porque es necesario para ellos el saber que para todos van a poder estar recibiendo la información en el idioma de su corazón y que van a poder expresarse en el idioma de su corazón. So good afternoon, everyone. Simultaneous interpretation will be available. Having simultaneous interpretation is important for the Pueblo Food Project because language justice is an important piece of the work that they do. And therefore, this organization wants everyone to be able to receive the information in the language of their heart and to be able to speak and express themselves as well in the language of their heart. To be able to have access to the interpretation feature, you can see if you're connected on your computer, if you move your mouse at the bottom of your screen, you will see a menu pop up. You will then, once I'm done providing the instructions, you will be able to see the interpreting feature being enabled, a gridded globe. Click on that, it will open a menu and choose the language of your choice within interpretation. Para tener acceso a la interpretación, van a poder ver que si mueven su ratón en un segundo, cuando termine de dar las instrucciones, va a haber un globo terráqueo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Si hacen clic ahí, se va a abrir el menú desplegable para poder ver la opción de interpretación y escogen el idioma de su preferencia. Thank you.
Thank you, Dea. All right, now we'll go ahead and move on to introducing ourselves. So the camera in our classroom right now is like a 360 camera. So I'm like up at the top. You can see my hand waving. My name is Megan. I'm a program manager for the Pueblo Food Project. My favorite vegetable is beets. And then I'm going to toss it to other people in the room, and then we'll go online and then we'll get started. So
My name is Jody, and I was also gonna say beets, but it was a close with beets and spaghetti squash.
My name is Danielle and my favorite vegetable is asparagus. My name is Teresa and my favorite vegetable is cauliflower.
My name is Laura, and my favorite vegetable is Brussels sprouts.
all right, we'll do you last because then you can get started.
Okay.
Kai, do you want to go first?
Hi, my name is Kai. I don't have a favorite vegetables. I'm allergic to vegetables, but just
Uh-oh.
yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah. Unfortunately.
Amanda?
Hi, my name's Amanda, and my favorite vegetable, I guess we'll go with Brussels sprouts.
I like it. Sheree?
Hi, I'm Sheree, and my favorite vegetable is potatoes.
Love it. Crystal?
Hi, I'm Crystal, and my favorite vegetable is broccoli.
Broccoli. Costanza?
Hi, my name is Constanza, and my favorite vegetable is broccoli as well.
Right. Alicia? Oh, she doesn't look like she has sound available. No worries, Alicia. Shantae?
Hi, my name is Shantae, and I will have to say my favorite vegetable is sweet potato.
Oh, sweet potato is a good one. All right, Alicia said her favorite is cauliflower. And someone joined us here in the classroom. Andrea?
I don't know, asparagus is a vegetable, but that's my favorite.
All right, Andrea likes asparagus. I don't know why I almost said espresso. See if Victor hops on here quickly and then we'll jump to Taylor and get going. Hi, Victor. We just did introduction, so if you don't mind, if you could unmute and just say give your name and what your favorite vegetable is. No worries if you don't want to hop on.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. I was trying to, I'm working on technology. Yes. Hi, my name is Victor Contreras. I'm from San Antonio. I work for the City of San Antonio Metropolitan Health District. And one of my favorite vegetables is the calabacitas or squash. When I cook, I like to, you can cook either with pico de gallo and panela cheese, or you can add it to like chicken or beef soup.
I like it. Calabacitas is the best. Okay, we have one more family join in person.
Hi, sorry, I'm Camilla. This is Sophia.
We have Camilla and Sophia. Do you have a favorite vegetable, you guys?
She loves broccoli. All right. Yes.
All right, we got some
Yeah.
popular broccoli and asparagus tonight. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up our PowerPoint and give it up to Taylor to start our class.
So I'm cooking the pasta. I might have to, my phone's gonna go off in like 4 minutes, so that might startle all of us. But my name's Taylor Lopez Sapero. I'm a dietitian. And today we're gonna talk about ADHD, autism, and other learning differences at family meals. And if you need to stand up, if you need to move your body while you're learning, please do that so you're able to retain a little bit better and you don't fall asleep, because it is 6 o'clock, so it's like almost bedtime. But I'll talk for about 45 minutes and then I'm gonna do a little cooking demo at the end. Next slide,
Then
please.
we'll all eat mac and cheese.
Yes.
You want me to talk about
The what?
giveaway?
Oh, yeah. We will be having a little giveaway raffle at the end of class, which I forgot to tell you about just a little bit ago. So anybody online or in person will have the opportunity to win one of $200 grocery gift cards to King Soopers. And then for the people who are in person, we will raffle off 4 ingredient sets of the recipe we're making today.
So by the end of this talk, I hope that you take away these learning objectives. So we're going to talk about what influences our food choices, developmental disorders, and how that influences food choices, how to help mealtime struggles, meal conversation starters and skills, and then we'll do the recipe demo, which is broccoli mac and cheese. Next slide, please. Okay, so quick disclaimer, this is a general topic. I'll be offering some ideas and tips, but if you're needing more specific recommendations, always seek medical advice from your provider, from therapist, OT, SLP, and your own dietitian, so they can better assess your child's health. All right, so optimal nutrition. When you hear that, those two words together, what does that mean to you? Yes?
Getting the most out of what I eat.
Yes, getting the most out of what she eats. What were you gonna say? Oh. Just making sure nobody online puts a chat in that I miss. Well, when we think about optimal nutrition, we tend to think about general guidelines or recommendations, and most people know that we need to eat a variety of vegetables, add in lots of colors, add in fruits, choosing dairy products and protein foods. That way we get all of our nutrients that we need. So these recommendations are definitely important, but often not super achievable every single day. And why do you think that is? Time.
Cost, maybe?
Yeah, cost of food.
Access.
Yes. Exactly. There are tons of factors that influence our food choices. So although our goal is these recommendations, this is not necessarily something we can achieve all the time.
All right.
Next slide.
Eva, do we have a question? Do you want to unmute and ask?
Oh, también no sabemos cómo
Also, we don't know how to balance our meals.
Ooh,
That's a good point.
so education. Next slide. Oh, one too far.
There we go.
So what actually influences our nutrition, our food choices? These are just a couple, not all, but I wanted to touch on these specifically. So first, our culture, definitely the way we were raised. We're going to eat certain foods based on tradition and customs. Climate, if you live in the Caribbean, you're probably going to have a lot more access to fresh fruits than if you are in Alaska. Religion, certain foods you follow for a religion. Distance to food, which is like kind of what you were saying, access. If you have to drive to a grocery store and you don't have a car, that is a barrier to getting optimal nutrition. Desirability. So this is going to be a big one that we'll touch on today. And that is kind of encompasses our senses. So how we taste food, the smell of it, the sound of it, if we want to eat it. That's a really big one because in today's food system, they make a lot of the foods taste really good, but might not achieve optimal nutrition. And then we're going to talk about medical conditions today. So if somebody has diabetes or a developmental disorder, they're going to choose different foods based on their health. And then lastly, media is a big one. I mean, there's always like a new fad diet that everybody's following that is maybe not optimal nutrition, but everybody's following it because media says, oh, this is the next big thing. So I want you to take a moment to think about your food choices for today, like even just lunch today. What, if any of these factors influenced you, and maybe in the moment you didn't think about them influencing you, but if you can think back now and feel comfortable sharing, I would love to hear that.
Well, I wouldn't say today, but maybe like yesterday or something, you know, our culture, the food, a lot of the food we have here in Pueblo is maybe not always the most healthy, so, you know, eating fried like sopapillas for dinner. Eating sopapillas and green chili for dinner is definitely like a culture choice that, you know, maybe if it wasn't just there, I might not might not eat that.
So true.
I
If it
think
wasn't delicious.
I know, the desirability too.
I eat a lot based on desirability. I'm really bad about like saying no to sugary foods.
Especially when we're stressed.
Yeah. Right. Sheree, do you want to unmute and give yours?
Desirability, the distance to food is kind of what influenced me today. I saw a new place that opened up around from the house, and so it led me to go there for me and my children's food for today.
Thank you for sharing.
For us, it's like a big thing with media because we're always like quickly watching YouTube and they're like, oh, what did they make real quick? And, you know, the shorts and stuff. And it's like, oh, that looks good, but do I know how to do it? But we'll try, you know, so media has a huge
Influence.
on us.
Anybody else online? I
didn't see any other hands.
Okay. Next slide, please. Thank you all for sharing.
I don't understand this.
So I'm just going to go over a couple of definitions, and just a reminder, these are formal definitions. They don't encompass the everyday experience that somebody with autism or ADHD or other learning differences actually feels or is able to express. But I just want to make sure we're all on the same page of what I'm talking about. So autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, and nonverbal communication. And this is a spectrum, so it can range from mild to severe, and everybody presents very differently. So you can imagine treatment can be very challenging if we're all learning differently and presenting differently. Next slide, please. Next one is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. Most people know this one. It's one of the most common neurodevelopmental disorders in childhood. A lot of times it gets a bad rap too, because it's people with or kids with a lot of energy. People automatically label them as, oh, they have ADHD. But children with ADHD struggle with paying attention, controlling impulsive behaviors, and being overly active. And this also looks differently in genders as well, and also adults. So it's very, very hard to treat when we're all so different. Next slide, please. So what challenges do you have during your mealtime experiences with somebody with a learning difference? Yes.
The choice on foods. I think like my son has ADHD, so he has a struggle eating chicken because we have chickens outside. So like he'll eat the egg, but in his mental, he thinks he's eating his chicken, so he refuses to eat it. So it's a big struggle getting him balanced diet with meat and the taste.
Yes.
He has a hard time with the taste.
Oh, struggle.
Alicia said that their son struggles with texture. Yeah, that's a common one. Eva, do you want to unmute and
Sí, yes. My daughter has functional autism and ADHD, and she struggles a lot, but with food colorants and artificial flavors, especially with red 40. That color specifically makes her have even more hyperactivity.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think So she loves to eat, but the only thing she doesn't like is ice cream, so that is one thing, challenge, I know, she told us, you know, she doesn't mind that
Awesome.
texture. But it's really just ice cream, like she will not eat ice cream or anything really cold. And so that's sad for us, but so I think like, you know, at schools, they're really feeding kids a very unhealthy diet, and since she does love food, she'll eat everything, and that ends up giving her stomach problems because the food they're serving at schools is. And you know, I don't mean to criticize, but you know, just it doesn't do well. We never have any problems on the weekends or at night, but when she's at school, she has some stomach issues.
Which impacts learning and
Yeah.
all of that when she's actually in school. Oh,
My daughter has, she has Down syndrome. She's also 2B. And so trying to find, and she could still eat and drink, but very minute. And so trying to find a meal that we can all share when you have one that's very picky, one that's a 2B and swallowing difficulties, trying to find that combination of what can we make that I'm not making 10 different meals.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big, huge challenge.
Yeah.
And swallowing is really scary too, because you're like
yeah.
afraid to give them certain foods.
Mhm. Thank you for all sharing those experiences. Nobody knows what it's like except for you and your own day-to-day experience.
Yeah, so we have two comments. Sheree said, you refuse to eat and repetition of certain foods. Like, Sheree, do you mean that they won't eat the same thing over and over again?
Well, like what I did mean is like they basically they at the same time, if it's a meal time, they're not gonna eat at the same time. Like they'll eat at different times, and one of them just want like cheeseburgers all the time. The other one just want chicken all the time. Like it's nothing new, you know. It's the same.
Amanda says one child with dysphagia. Dysphagia, sorry, I hadn't heard that word before. So there's consideration to food safety and choking risks, and another with sensory issues, so texture, smell, are issues, and it takes her longer to warm up to eating.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So you all have a lot of expertise in this, so feel free sharing your tips as well, because you're gonna learn from each other too. So if you need to interrupt me, please do. Next slide, please. So how do learning differences influence somebody's food choices? Well, when your senses are at max, when you have very heightened senses, you might feel very overstimulated a lot of the time. And presenting something like food can cause a fear response, whether it's to taste, smell, texture, temperature, any type of sensory concern. So when this happens, when you have a fear response in your body, you are in a flight or flight. You are not going to be able to digest very well. You're going to panic and leave the table if somebody can walk. If they can't, they're probably just going to refuse. And then that puts them at risk for reducing their overall food intake. When we reduce our overall food intake, we're at risk for weight loss, nutritional deficiencies, or they might prefer only certain food groups. So that could lead to nutritional deficiencies. Sometimes they're on medications that can cause loss of appetite. And also, we don't know, but like even motor development, if people aren't familiar with development and how they should recognize certain like skills, that can also cause issues with food. If you're not able to use a fork and somebody keeps handing you a fork, you're probably going to refuse to eat. And if you don't know how to express that, that can be a big challenge with your food intake. And then inability to try new foods. Every time there's a new food presented, the fear response starts. Especially for kids, they have a lot less experience than adults with food. adults have decades of experiences of trying new foods, but kids, their short amount of life on this earth already, puts every new food at, they're gonna have a fear response to it. And then just a reminder that treatment plans should be individualized to the unique sensory characteristics of each child. So definitely work with your medical team to match your child's needs the best. So mealtime struggles. How would you describe a mealtime struggle in your own words?
When they refuse to eat what you cook,
Mm-hmm.
and they tell you that you don't know how to cook.
Yeah.
And they just refuse and cry.
Everyone else eats it except for that.
Yes. So that sounds like the biggest takeaway of a mealtime struggle is just not eating a certain food that's offered. And it could be very small struggle, or it could be a very long struggle, looks differently for everybody. So here are just some ideas of how to manage a mealtime struggle. One, having a plan, knowing your child's warning signs when they're showing their stress responses, that can help you initiate a plan of what to do. Maybe it's not pushing them any further. Maybe it's ending the meal. It kind of depends differently for everybody. Videos and pictures, always take videos and pictures, especially if you're going to see providers. They're so much more helpful than just words and expressing words. But if you have a picture of how much your child is eating, and you show that to a dietitian, they're better able to understand how maybe small they're eating or how many different textures they're not consuming, or an occupational therapist see a video and look at your development a little bit easier. So that could be a really good tool if you're having a hard time expressing to your medical team what's going on. Breathe when you need it. So whenever we're in a stress response, no matter if it's your child or if it's you, breathing is going to calm things down. Even if everybody breathes together, just taking a step back from the situation. Be careful of falling into testimonial traps from others. So what I mean by that is, especially if you are in like certain support groups or you see social media, if somebody is expressing this diet for my child helps them immensely and cured them of all their symptoms and disorders, just be mindful of what they're doing and doing your own investigation, because sometimes certain things can be harmful to children, especially if you are developing and you need a lot of nutrients. For example, they recommend sometimes for autism a casein-free and gluten-free diet. And for some people, this is not good because they're already so restrictive in their meal intake that restricting them more can be pretty harmful. So definitely work with your providers for those.
You said, what was that first term you used?
Casein-free, it's a protein in milk. So really no milk products at all. Any questions about any of that? Okay, next slide, please. So this would be a good time to share with everybody if anything has helped your mealtime experience, so we can all like learn from each other as well.
I noticed my son will eat more when I have him help me cook.
Such a good one.
I think I just kind of see what I like. Whenever I cook, I know what he likes more. So I try to cook it and kind of like balance it out with fruits and vegetables, you know, like, so when I'm making my meals, I know that I make something that he likes, but I also cut up cucumbers and I just put them on the table. So they know that they could grab it and fill up their plate, and I try not to use too much like cough or anything like that, I started making tea. And I noticed that my daughter said, this tea's so good. So it's like, okay, so I'm starting to cut down on the sugary drinks and putting more water. Yeah, they get pop once in a while. And
Okay.
talking to my husband too, because there's differences, you know, like in our culture, you know, I'm trying as much as I can to give him like a balanced diet. And he'll come home and bring juices, and I had a talk with him and I told him, hey, please try to do less juices, you know, they're liking the tea, so let's do the tea and being on the same page.
What kind of tea do they like?
The green tea.
Nice.
And they liked it. I was like,
That's awesome. Alicia said that getting section trays so that food doesn't touch has helped a lot and helps prepare with the size of food, the portions. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, really good. These tips are awesome. I especially love the one about getting everybody on the same page, whether it's grandma, because when they go to grandma's house, it's a lot different. So making sure all the adults and everybody in their life know what type of relationship with food you're trying to help them with. Eating as a family, and my picky toddler looks up to his older sisters, so when he sees them eating something, he tends to try it. Yes, role models, that's huge. Thank you. So you mentioned a couple of the solutions already, but I'm just gonna go through some ideas of how to create a really positive mealtime environment. So if our stress response starts and we feel the fight or flight, we're gonna have a kick of adrenaline. Adrenaline makes our bodies actually lose our appetite. And you probably have noticed this in your own life. If you're working on something really hard and you have a deadline or something, you're not really thinking about food, you're just thinking about, I need to get this done right now. And then when you stop, the stress starts to decrease, and then the hormone cortisol starts. Now, cortisol, we end up craving foods like crazy. Then the body's like, you haven't been feeding me, so I'm just gonna be really like, I'm gonna go for anything. So when you think about a child who's in a fight or flight, if they're having a mealtime struggle and a fear response, if they're having an adrenaline kick and they lose their appetite, they're gonna come back later, probably an hour later, 2 hours later, and guess what? They're gonna be starving. They're gonna say, I want more of anything. And so there are physiological things going on in the body that are, that you can tell by their behavior. You can't really know what's happening in the body, but their behaviors are showing it. So a big one at the table and chairs should be comfortable for the child. They've actually seen that we don't think about it very often, but kids who sit at an adult table, they feel really uncomfortable because they're often looking up at the table. Their feet are dangling. They usually can't, if they're really little, they usually can't see their plate very well. They're kind of looking up at it. And from our perspective, we can see it just fine. But if you can't see your food, you're probably going to be scared of it. And then they've seen that when people are grounded into the earth, they actually eat better. Even babies who are breastfeeding, if they're nursing and their feet are on mom's arm, they've seen they've had a better nursing experience compared to just dangling. So interesting. So making sure high chairs and chairs have an appropriate angle for kids to have a 90-degree angle for their legs. Don't overwhelm the plate. So remembering they have such a small stomach compared to us. So putting portions on their plate that align with their age can help their fear response to go down when they don't see this giant plate of food. Somebody touched on this already, but different plates, utensils, like that section plate idea is awesome. I've seen people use muffin tins. Just kind of getting creative and out of the box can make a fun experience for kids, especially with new foods. And even location, maybe every week, you go do a living room picnic or a backyard picnic and just get out of the table environment because maybe the table is the trigger. Fun shapes and colors. So like this picture below, I'm using cookie cutters to create little shapes, making little bugs or faces, really fun. Kids love that. Structured meal times when possible. So a lot of times when you have a picky eater, they will graze a lot. So they will be at the table, eat a couple bites, go off, come back, eat a couple bites, go off, come back. So what this is doing is they never get full and then they're like always hungry too. They just can't learn their fullness cues and their hunger cues very well if they're constantly eating. Not that that's a bad thing, but having structured meal times, kids love routines. So when you have breakfast at 8 or lunch at 12, it gives them this expectation that they don't have to be scared of a meal when they know when to expect it. And then having it go for only an hour or not even an hour, like 15 minutes. And if they are done, they're done. Close the kitchen for an hour and then come back later. No clean plate club. So I'm sure a lot of people grew up with the clean plate club where you had to finish everything on your plate. This really makes our relationship with food not the best because we can never learn our own feeding cues. So making sure kids know that it's okay to stop when you're full, even if you have food on your plate, and identifying words to help them know what fullness looks like. Because if they're just saying I'm full, do they know what even full is? Maybe they just hear somebody say that. So asking them like, how does your tummy feel? Is it heavy? Helping them with description terms. And then for food waste, having smaller portions on their plate to begin with would help to cut back on the food waste if they don't eat it all. And then food activities outside of mealtime. This is a big one because this will help them with the opportunity of seeing food without the feeling forced to eat it. So some ideas you could do is like taste tests. So like for an activity, they get to vote with stickers on if they tried it, liked it or loved it. And it's no big deal if they just tried it. You could do sensory bins. So if somebody's really learning their senses, you can have rice in a big bin and they can learn how to put it in containers, and that helps with their motor development too. Also play chef is a good one. If they pretend they're cooking something, having them help cook with you, that can really help. Are there any other activities or tools that you all do?
So my son, I couldn't get him to eat vegetables. So what I started doing a couple years back was just growing our own and having him help like plant the seeds, take them outside into pots, watch him grow, and then he'd pick them. And then that's how I got him to start eating vegetables. Because then he like started the whole process of how they're grown and then how they're cooked and how they taste.
That's awesome, seeing the connection to food.
Eva, do you wanna unmute? I know you've had your hand up for a little bit.
Sí. Yes. For me, something that works, the person that was talking, she was saying that there are some people that like to graze. They eat, they run away, they come back and eat. And due to hyperactivity in my child, that's something that she would do a lot. But a doctor, well, occupational therapist, she said to put a large plate, a large bowl of sand underneath the chair where she would do her homework or where she would eat. And so she takes off her feet and her socks, and she plays with her feet in the sand. And so she plays with it, and then that helps her be able to focus on what she's going to do, whether it's eating a meal or doing her homework. And so that helps her a lot.
Wow, that's a
Wow.
great recommendation. Awesome.
Even with beans, it would be like,
Like,
than sand.
like dried beans.
Yeah.
And very low cost, like you would just need a bin and.
They used to do that to my son when he was having occupational therapy. They would put him like in a big tub of beans and he would just like play with it and touch it and. Cause they thought he had sensory issues, which led to all his diagnostics after that, but they started him on that. That was all about touching and grabbing and feeling, cause he can't be dirty. Like if he's eating something and it's sticky, he will not eat it because just the fact that he gets dirty, you know, he's a super clean child, like super spotless. Even today, my daughter was telling him, you can't be taking 2 showers a day. You should only take one. It's one in the morning, and one after he gets home from school. So we still struggle with that, you know, and the food part, it's a struggle. If they go, cause he has siblings, they go and touch him and he smells it. That's the end of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very high incenses.
Yes.
Very much. We have a pillow chair. And I don't know, it's smooth on one side and bubbly on the other side, and I never know which way it's supposed to go down, so sometimes they sit on the bubbles and stuff, but it's something so they can kind of fidget and there. I can't figure out if it's working yet, but we have one for each of the boys, they both have one, and I don't know if it's working, but we're trying something like that.
That's a great idea. I had an idea I was gonna say. Oh, also, if somebody has a really short attention span, making them not sit at the table for too long, so. Like having a timer, which is like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, like having them sit at the table right when their food is served instead of sitting longer to help the attention span. Awesome. Okay, so if all of that is impacting our food choices, what are some ways we can optimize our nutrition and our children's nutrition? You might know a lot of these tips already, but one could be mixed in whole grains with white grains tonight, or other grains. Tonight we're using white pasta, but if we wanted to add a little bit more nutrition, we could have mixed whole grain pasta in with it, and they could be cooking at the same time. So you're getting this familiar food, but you're also getting a new texture. Typically, kids with sensory issues avoid vegetables and protein foods, but carbohydrates, that food group tends to be a little bit easier to consume. And a lot of that has to do with uniformity. So when you think about a carbohydrate like crackers or cereal, you know what to expect in taste, texture, size, temperature, but with like protein foods and vegetables and fruits, everything you get might look a little bit different, might smell a little bit different. Even the taste of like a blueberry versus one blueberry is gonna be very different. So all of that can feel scary, so carbohydrates tend to be a little bit easier. So work with what you got. If they like carbs, try to enhance the carbohydrate foods. Add in vegetables to sauces. So this depends on texture, but if you have to blend up carrots or celery and add it to your spaghetti sauce, or if they're able to do chopped up zucchini or broccoli into their sauce, that could be a way of introducing more nutrients. Other
vegetables and then make a powder and use it in sausage that way.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, oh. Yeah, like just hydrate a variety of vegetables and then blend them to make a powder.
You sound like you're pretty handy over there.
Do you have a dehydrator?
You can put it in the oven too.
The
art
too,
all
the time. Most people don't use them. I got one for $4.
Amazing. It takes away fiber, takes away a little bit of fiber. And like hydration.
So what about, when you put it back in the sauce, it'll rehydrate it, but it's not gonna give them the texture like vegetable pieces? True.
So what about I know that I was told, like you say, we follow along when we talk to other people. I was told that if I gave him the omega-3, that it would replace some of the, nutrients that he doesn't have in his body. How true is that? I'm trying to push, I know I talked to the doctor and she told me to give him magnesium and, vitamin D3.
Okay.
And I'm trying to push that on him a lot, on all of them, all my kids. But I was also, trying to add the omega-3 because they said kids with ADHD need it for their brain or something, that it helps them. I'm not exactly sure if that's true.
So there is a vitamin, they're called Smart Babies or something, and they're gummies and they're delicious, and they have all the omega-3s, D3, and they're supposed to be the best for ADHD. I actually take them myself for adult ADHD, and it is supposed to like have all the correct like nutrients to help it. And what's it called? Smart Baby. With the orange lid, but
Oh my God.
yeah,
You see,
it has all of that in one, the magnesium, and I even take her like same one, we just take the same ones, and actually mine's been so
So definitely omega-3s are good for our brain health. If they're not eating fish, which is where we get a lot of it, supplementation is probably okay. I'd always say check lab work first, especially for kids with developmental disorders, because they might have deficiencies. So if you get labs done, you know what vitamins they might be low on. I've seen some tips where they don't take the vitamin, they'll like break the capsule and put it on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and add a little bit of the vitamin powder that way. But just be mindful that you can overdo it on some vitamins. So definitely talk with your provider for those.
We have a question up here.
Yeah.
Does chlorophyll help as being a good intake for nutrients, especially if you don't get vegetables?
Ooh, I actually would have to do some research on that. It sounds like chlorophyll comes from plants, so it sounds like they're just taking that plant compound and putting it in a vitamin. I would have to research it.
I think it's a phytonutrient, because it's like, it's like the color, phytonutrients or anything that like gives plants color. And chlorophyll is what makes plants green. So I would think if they don't eat vegetables, they're missing out on that. I don't know what the like health effects are of not getting chlorophyll. So it's
I
interesting.
take chlorophyll too, and it's good for your leg. I know, this is at least what it says. I don't know what else it's good for, but I think she's right that it's not necessarily like good for replacing vegetables. They say it's good for like your blood and the oxygen in your blood. And so it's supposed to give you more energy.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I know, but it doesn't say anything about like being a replacement for vegetables. Those are like the main things
It says.
says.
One thing with vegetables too, vegetables and fruits help with digestion and going to the bathroom. So if a child is not eating those, they probably are dealing with a lot of constipation. So making sure they're getting their fiber in other ways, which would be other sources of protein like beans. Beans are huge. If you can add beans to taco meat, you can add beans to a lot of different things in a way that they are familiar with. Refried beans, even if they like that. And water, a lot of water. Kids are usually pretty dehydrated and they don't know it.
I have something to share that my mom used to do. Me and my brother weren't very picky eaters, but still just to make eating more fun. She would like call foods different things. So like she used to make split pea soup, but she would call it Shrek soup because it was green. And so we just thought it was like fun. I remember loving it just because it had a fun name. And then like she would make turkey burgers and call them Krabby Patties. So dumb stuff like that. If there's a TV show that they like that has food, just naming it something different, like really made me excited to eat those foods when I was little. Just because they were called something fun.
It's a great idea. We make like a spinach smoothie, a monster smoothie, or
Mhm.
awesome. Oh, one thing I wanted to touch on is when is an oral nutrition supplement necessary? And what that is would be something like Pediasure. So Pediasure is considered a medical food, but often a lot of people use it in place of things, which it should be used secondary to nutrition. So when we are thinking of using it, I would really talk to the doctor first, but it definitely has good vitamins and minerals, protein. But one thing it also has is a lot of added sugars. If you ever have looked at the label, 2 or 3 add up to a lot of added sugars a day. So keeping that in mind, like maybe you make your own smoothie instead if you're trying to get some of the added sugars out of their diet. And then always using it after the meal. So if they try the food, attempt, and they're still not eating it, then use it as a after so they don't get full on liquid. Same thing with milk. A lot of kids love milk. And they'll drink it 2 to 3 times a day, which is fine, but making sure it's after the meal so they're not so full. Does anybody have questions on Pediasure?
What about like protein milk? So my son eats meat, he doesn't, so we buy that, I don't know, it's like, it has a cow on it or it says protein milk and I don't remember the exact, I got it at Sam's
Okay.
and it's like 30 grams of protein. I don't
Is
know.
it a powder?
No, it's a chocolate,
Okay.
it's like a chocolate milk, maybe cow life, I don't remember that. Yeah, but like, is that okay to get protein through a shake? That kind?
Good question. Is it meant for adults too?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to look.
Okay.
It's not a dietary one. It's just, it's not like a muscle enhancer. It's just, it says protein milk.
Okay. I'd have to look at the label specifically, but one thing I'd be cautious of it if it's for adults. Too, adults require a lot more protein than kids. And if we can actually overdo protein intake and it can actually be harmful for their kidneys. So definitely like, gosh, depends on their age, how much protein they need a day, but 30 grams sounds pretty high for a kid. For one drink, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a hand up, so.
Do you get it because they like it and you feel like.
Eva, go ahead.
Yo tengo una pregunta.
I
No
have a
sé
question, and I don't know if it's a myth or if it's something that, well, I don't know. My mom and my in-laws, if it's something that they say, I don't give milk to my daughters. Precisely because my youngest one, who's the one that is on the spectrum, she also constantly she would get asthma attacks. And so when I removed the milk from their diet, then she stopped having asthma attacks. And so I don't know how to compensate that protein because she doesn't drink milk.
Okay. So definitely you can use an alternate milk. Soy milk is one of the alternate milks that actually has protein in it. Almond milk and oat milk don't have a lot of protein in it, so I would introduce soy products. And then also our other, if she's doing no dairy exclusively, but if you are doing some dairy still, you could do cheese, yogurt, another dairy product, other protein foods, eggs, nuts and seeds, beans, tofu. So definitely just trying to incorporate a variety of protein foods if you're cutting out milk.
So what group does beans belong to, the grains or the proteins? Because yesterday we had this
pre-diabetes class, and they kind of confused me because one of them said, yeah, that falls into the grains, and then the other one goes, no, it falls into the protein, so we were going at it, both of them, and I was like, okay, dude, be on the same page, because you're teaching all these groups, you know,
Yeah.
and we all are trying to learn from you, and when you're all lost, you're getting us all lost. I was like, oh, and you know me, my honesty, I told. I was ready to tell them, hey, girls.
Yeah, get it
focus.
together.
Before you start this meeting, be on the same page, cause I was like, oh.
Interesting one.
So it falls in protein, it has protein, and it's also a vegetable.
Okay.
So those two food groups.
It does not fall in the grains?
No.
Oh,
No, it's not a grain.
Bean is not a grain.
oh, goodness. Sorry, my
It's
dear.
high in fiber, like I see where the confusion is because it's high in fiber and like some grains do have protein. So I can see where the confusion
Like the
is.
seed of a plant, right? So
Yeah.
that grows its own, like,
Yeah.
the seed of a
Yeah.
plant,
It's a legume.
technically.
It's a legume.
We should have a food group specifically for beans, but they're in the middle.
I'll see in the food triangle, they do lump grains and legumes together. I just noticed that.
That's interesting.
So,
Yeah, I was just like staring at him and I was all interested, you know, listening to him, and then I would, one said one thing and then the other one went in and she said something else and I was like, okay, which way?
Oh, boy.
Come on, guys.
Yes. Okay.
So this is just another tool to help with food challenges. It's called food chaining. Has anybody heard of this before? Awesome. Nobody online? So what it is just trying to, your end goal of a new food and a liked food, you're gonna slowly transition them to a new food. And by doing that, you're incorporating the same color, texture, shapes to try to eventually get them to your new food goal. So for an example, they have potato chips. They're a huge fan of potato chips. So to slowly transition them to banana slices, you're gonna go to salted plantain chips, similar shape, similar flavor with the salt. Eventually transition to banana chips, similar shape, less salt, more like of a banana flavor, and then eventually the whole fruit. So you can kind of think about if they're really struggling to try a new food, maybe use this tool to transition them a little bit easier. Next slide.
I might need to use that slide for myself.
It would probably work. I think we'll skip this. I think we're running a little short on time. Okay. Sorry. This will be in the PowerPoint slides that you'll get in an email, so feel free to watch that video when you go home. But in the video, they talk about the division of responsibility, that it's the parent is responsible for putting the food on a child's plate, and the child is responsible for knowing how much to eat. And some of these questions are also helps them to learn to have a better relationship with food. Because right now in our day, it's hard to have a really healthy relationship with food with all the outside influences we get from people's comments, our food system. So the more we have healthy, positive words and phrases to use when a child is struggling, that can help. So here are some phrases. I won't go over them because of time, but they'll be in your PowerPoint slides if you need to refer back to. I also put a couple of resources here. The Family Dinner Project, this is a link. They have awesome activities if you're kind of like having a brain fart and you're like, I don't know anything new to try. That place has really fun worksheets and food activities. And then foodhero.org has a lot of good recipes too. So those will be in your PowerPoints. Next slide. So before we go to the demo, if you'd like to share maybe one takeaway from this presentation that you might try going home, and if not, it's okay too.
I like the idea of the sand thingy, you know, just because they're all hyper and they like just take off on me. So I think I would definitely try that idea.
I like the 90-degree angle, like I'd be interested in experimenting with that and see.
If it helps with food intake.
I think I'll do the 5-minute things, because usually I'm like, okay, come sit at the table until we get, and it takes me that many time to get the food on the table, so let them just play, do whatever they want to do, and when the food's there, cooled and ready, then call them up.
Yes.
Don't use the clear plate method anymore.
Yay.
My parents used to do that and there was lots of fighting when we were kids.
Like the food spiking, because it's not necessarily that I want it, I just want something.
Yes, similar texture.
Yeah.
Yeah. The food chaining, Kai said too. Yay. Well, I know we're at an hour. If you have to leave for the recipe, don't feel guilty at all.
We're till 7:30.
Oh, we're till 7:30.
Yeah,
We're good.
you're good.
For some reason, I had my mind 7 for some reason. Oh, geez. Well, then, we're gonna transition to our recipe for everybody online. I'm so sorry you're not able to try it.
But you will get to see it.
Can you pull that recipe up? Sorry,
Oh.
I just wanna go over it real quick. So, this is just a plain pasta with milk, cheese, broccoli, butter. So I would love to hear your thoughts on how you would optimize this recipe to enhance the nutrients in it.
I would use
I just have a real quick question. Are you able to substitute the milk on this? Like. almond
Absolutely.
or-
Maybe we can liquefy the vegetables for like it's part of the seasoning, but part of the nutrients as well.
And make it green. Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's like a vegetable fiber-based pasta, so like a pasta.
To get more protein.
Spaghetti squash.
Yeah, I just tell them you're eating spaghetti.
Yeah. Oh,
Or you can just eliminate the cheese
I
sauce
love it,
and
and
make
I
like a
can't-
vegetable cheese sauce with
Yeah.
nutritional yeast and sweet potato.
I love nutrition.
Yes.
Me too.
It just makes everything cheesy.
On your popcorn. Oh, so good.
So the butter, the flour, the water and the milk would make the sauce? Is that what?
Yeah, it's like a roux-ish type of sauce. And then the seasonings. One thing this is missing is like a protein food, although it has milk has protein, but you could add tuna, you could add chicken.
Bacon.
No chicken, definitely not.
No chicken for your son, but
Sausage might be good. Mac and
Sausage.
cheese.
Everybody will get a copy of the recipe, either by email if you're online, and then we have paper copies as well. For those who are here. All right, are we ready to cook?
ready. I just need to drain my pasta and I'll be back.
Totally fun.
Oh, yeah.
The ground flex.
Yeah.
Because it dissolves kind of in the
Sorry, I
water.
was looking back there, crunchy, but.
Yeah. So while we're all here, I thought I would share, we're gonna be doing a mini cooking class series starting from the first week of March to the first week of May. They'll be every Thursday. And I'm looking for the date right now. We're doing one class specifically on kid foods, like healthier versions of kid-friendly foods. So we were gonna do like a healthy veggie pack mac and cheese and then healthier chicken nuggets. I'll find the date for that and make sure to share it with you all and we can email it to you too, if you guys are interested in that.
So is this just for the parents or kids also? I think our city would love it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, she has dance lessons. Oops.
Every Thursday?
Yeah, they'll be Thursdays from May, all of May and all of April.
From what
being the
time to
first
what
Thursday.
time?
It'll be 6
So 7:30, same time as us.
Yeah.
My son wants to make banana bread so bad. And
Oh,
he's like, and every time I forget to buy bananas. So,
Oh,
but
Yeah,
he
my
wants
daughter-
to cook somewhere.
my daughter checked out a book with a bunch of recipes and she told her teacher to print out all the pages. So she came home with all the pages. She goes, Mom,
That's awesome.
we could cook. And I'm like, okay.
So I quadrupled the recipe so we can all have some. Hopefully my math is right, but I'm melting butter right now, and then we're gonna add flour. So
Yay.
we'll just wait for a minute.
Is there like different kinds of butter that are better? I mean, sometimes we buy like the dairy, some kind of butter, European butter or something, and then sometimes it's like, oh, can't believe it's not butter, you know, so like, is there some that are better than, or like one you should probably be using?
Yeah, so some, like, I can't believe it's not butter, is actually like margarine, which is made of vegetable oil. Some butter is just straight from milk. That butter would be really different from each other if it's made from milk. Except maybe the way they take care of the animal, if that's important to you, so maybe looking into the company.
I mean, there are different levels of quality of
Sometimes
butter.
it looks like water.
Yeah, and would be different than like, so we get Kerry Gold butter
Oh,
when
yeah,
we
yeah.
go to
I'm a butter
classes, cause
snob.
it's
Yeah.
so good, and it's like,
Like in my coffee.
and it's
Yeah.
quality. So it's like, it's good, so you can tell when there's like different levels.
Yeah, I think it depends on like what your kind of food philosophy is.
Okay.
Right, so like
I asked
the dairy-free butters are highly processed.
Okay.
Because they're trying to make something
Yeah.
out of like the oils, that's right? So it's a little more processed, but if you're trying to be dairy-free, then that would be a good option for you to get the same texture of butter in your cooking.
Yeah.
But if you're good with having dairy and you're trying to just kind of eat like whole foods, like natural foods, then I think.
Right, Taylor, how much milk are we adding?
Okay.
That's the food that people ate like 500
I
years
am
ago.
adding,
And we're good with dairy, you know, and like,
Yeah.
I always. think dairy goes on.
since I told you the recipe, it's a little confusing.
Mhm.
I'm adding,
I wait till it's on sale, then I have to talk about it.
4 times 4.
Yeah.
It's 16
That's
cups.
what I use.
Oh, we quadrupled the recipe for what Taylor's making in there.
It's a thing.
So,
Yeah.
it's a little extra, but melt the butter down, add the milk.
Also, I love cooking. I know coconut can be a hard flavor for kids especially, but I love to mix coconut oil in.
Do we have a whisk by chance?
Or coconut.
My room's not going very
Does anyone have questions online that they'd like to ask out loud?
And so I think, I don't know if those have magnesium in my budget, but it might seem helpful.
Does it?
I heard.
What about beans? Is there a kind of bean that's better than?
Yeah. Like chickpeas have a lot of protein.
Oh, my daughter, I have a freeze dry and she's like, oh, I bring in my chickpeas, freeze dry them for me, you know?
Yeah.
So we'll have to, you know, but then like, I didn't know, like, with my kids, are they gonna eat the navy beans or, you know?
I don't think there's a reason for you to say that these are better than others.
Okay.
If they're gonna eat them, they're gonna eat them, and it's better to have that replace it with or something. Ultimately, choosing some beans and something is gonna be better than not.
I could be wrong, and this could be the turnout.
No, it's.
We try to have a holistic idea of food, so.
I'm trying to get my son to like, he wants to make bread, but I'm like, cook dinner with me. I'm just, I think I should probably just not buy top ramen anymore because that's all they're like, oh, top ramen, let's just do it. But I'm just like,
Well, you can try other types of noodles or like making your own broth. But that's not very hard.
we cook and like the adults, we eat all the time. And so we make our own chicken broth. Like I get chicken feet and for them and stuff, and like, what, you know, and so we.
You know, like.
And like
dairy,
today,
you don't want to have
I
cows.
chicken broth,
chicken
you know,
that
as
being like
lunch.
GMO corn.
I never thought about eating that.
So they're still getting that.
in their proper, or getting like maybe a fed cheese, like.
Yeah, so. and like,
Oh, yeah.
It's really sad is that.
How we going over there, Taylor?
Well, I panicked at first,
You got
She's
it.
doing great.
but I'm doing great.
I think some people just love cooking, and some people, you know, like, I have a sign that says I only have a kitchen because it came with a house, you know? My daughter loves cooking, you know, she's like, Mom, let me cook for you, you know, but.
I really actually enjoy cooking, but whenever I make a new recipe, it is kind of like a whirlwind.
I bought this book, it was like $80 and American cooking class or something, you know, and I'm in page 1. And like, I gotta learn how to cook it and follow the recipe.
That's true, the recipe is important. It's chemistry. It's chemistry. I'm adding a lot of milk, it seems like. It really is.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Now add pasta. Yeah. I'm gonna add some pasta to our milk butter sauce.
That's a lot of pasta.
Dinner. You did really good.
Actually,
I'm like that.
it's too heavy.
So we had way more in-person people last time, so that's why we wanted to make enough for everyone to like eat well.
You'll get to take some home.
So I found stuff about Kerrygold, so pasta
Let's do that.
butter.
So we're not getting like.
And their grass-fed butter, it's fed with less, or they give their cows like less GMO diet, and it's cost less too.
What's the name of that? That was
It's just
better
a cost
too.
of Kirkland brand grass-fed butter, but I found out it's like it's a lot cheaper than, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah. There's another one that carries something and we get that one when, it's like right next to the Kerrygold too, but I just can't think of the.
I don't like the way the grass-fed butter tastes, and I mean, I use it because you're supposed to use it, but I don't like the way it tastes like
What do you prefer? What do you like better?
Regular. I eat only salted butter.
Yeah,
I don't care how, it all tastes good, as long as it's salted, I'm just like, I can add salt, I love butter.
I think if I remember school that salted butter is.
So I guess the cheese goes on.
Oh, no, that is actually true, it's not true anymore. That is preserved.
Oh, yeah. I really like salted too, but.
We'll have it.
Butter on bread, I don't like Kerrygold. I don't like the taste.
It doesn't matter. Tell her I put it in my coffee in the morning instead of cream, you know, and it's all in there, vegetables as well, yeah.
And then.
Well, no.
I like lamb.
Exactamente.
How you guys doing up there?
Really good, we're at the step of adding cheese to make it nice and creamy. So 4 cups of 16.
Yeah, so that'll be.
Yeah, because last time I did this online.
Oh.
And my daughter's like, kept going like into my son's like this, and I'm just like, I'm trying to watch, and I'm putting my earbuds in, and I'm like, oh, I just need to go there, so I can try the rice or whatever, you
It's like
know?
the best pre-shredded cheese.
Yeah, Tillamook is my favorite.
Have you ever had their ice cream?
Oh, yeah.
You're like, when I gonna eat ice cream? My husband doesn't like ice cream either.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you call us when you want to eat ice cream.
And they teach me to go get ice cream.
That's good, that's good.
Are you sharing the recipe?
Oh,
Yes,
They're
I heard
printed-
something about
Yeah, they're printed in the back.
Yeah, we have recipes to give you with like paper, and then I'll send out an email tomorrow to everybody who signed up on the list, and they'll get the PowerPoint, the recipe, and the recording of the
class today.
I thought this class was pretty interesting. I missed some of it, so that would be nice.
Oh, you're welcome.
So are you sharing it with us too, even though we were here, because I missed some of it? Okay.
Yeah, everybody here and online will get an email with all of the information.
I know, no.
Get it in there so it's hot. So we're just mixing the cheese in and waiting for it to kind of melt. But it's in a hot pot, so shouldn't.
This is another thing when you're batch cooking is sometimes
So
you don't know what to expect
Asking me when she needs to be in and when she needs to be here.
compared to.
I'm gonna ask you if the requirements, we have those issues when we're grilling, because I'm like, okay, we're gonna eat at that time, and he's like, well, the meat's not ready at that time. And so I'm like, why can't you figure this out? And he's like, it's meat and it's a grill, and it's in the element.
Yeah.
Que van a ir para ver and then from there they're flying out of the town, because that's what the requirement was to be like in it. I want to, it's still the same money. I don't use for I'm not saying she wouldn't, I'm just saying they need time. Yeah, she'll do it, but she won't. So excited about it. She said, you believe it? I've been getting 100 something tests.
Might be a fail.
My daughter struggled with it. She's working on all those therapies for help. We get it. So the doctor and nurse doctor, that's when she started.
The Guinness record for macaroni,
When she goes there.
I know.
Most mac and cheese in one pot.
Really just help her around because it goes various ways. She looked at her and I could see her face.
That's one thing I like about having a tubie is I can use her thickener to a lot of my food. I'm like, oh, we'll get some of that, you know.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So do you make her food?
No, well, she's on a pediatric complete,
Okay.
and then I thicken
How old
her
is she?
at 6, she's
Okay.
twin. And so, I thicken her drink so she can drink water and stuff, and I make popsicles and I thicken it, like, before I melt it, I thicken it, and that way when it melts, it's not gonna give her that choking hazard. But we were doing the same because she loves cottage cheese. We're trying to get her to eat like eggs or.
She likes cottage cheese.
Oh, she loves cottage cheese.
She likes mushy things.
Well, because it has a little bit of a ball in there, so we're trying to get her to like eggs or mashed potatoes. So she's like, oh, start the chain with the cottage cheese and then use cottage cheese with this, or, you know, she's trying to get her to try like macaroni, but she can't do those consistencies yet for some reason.
I thought it was that.
We're hoping that she'll get off her feeding tube shape eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't know when, but
I know.
That'd be great.
yeah, it was funny because I have an 8-year-old and I come home, you know, like, and the twins are sick, so like I come home and we were in the hospital for 2 weeks and I come home. And my son's like, where? And then 2 weeks later, my other son finally gets released and he comes home with me and he's like, oh, you brought home my first other baby. And then Abby, and well, and then Abby is still in the hospital, they're getting her feeding tube, so she didn't come home. Till 9 days. So later on, he's like, Mom, you left again and brought another baby home.
We want to let it simmer a little bit so the cheese melts. So.
Okay.
Be ruffled.
All right.
Like, you can't.
All
look at
right,
her,
friends
just hate it.
online, we're going to let our mac and cheese in here simmer. So we're gonna go ahead and do the raffle. Serena has the names. So for everyone online, you'll be able to win one of 2 $100 gift cards to King Supers. So if you win online, I'll just email you tomorrow and get your address. And I'll send that your way, or you're more than welcome to come pick it up from our office if you're close enough or if you have time. So Serena, do you want to go? There you go.
All right, so we'll do the 2 gift cards first.
Yes, and then I'll let the online people go ahead and pop off, and then we'll, unfortunately for you guys, we get to eat the mac and cheese, so.
All right, first gift card winner is Hazel.
Hazel, are you still with us online? Yes,
Yay!
will you put your email in the chat for me really quick, just so that I know who I'm sending the email to?
Alright, and our second gift card winner is Amanda.
Amanda, are you still with us online?
I am, yay, thank you.
Yay! Can you also put your email in the chat?
Of course.
That looks like Parmesan Reggiano.
All right, so
Thank
then we got 4 kind of kits. What?
I'm gonna send them. So, hold on.
Okay.
So thank you everybody so much who joined us online. I hope you learned something. We might be able to offer nutrition classes in the future. So if you're interested, we'll still send emails and post them on our social media. But thank you for coming today. I hope you test out these recipes. You'll be getting the PowerPoint, the recipe, and the recording of the class tomorrow, or the next day in an email from me. So we'll hopefully see you soon. Thank you so much for joining, and you guys are welcome to go ahead and head out.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
All right.